Hello Medfield, and welcome to the new edition of Happenings in Medfield. My guest today, as usual, at the end of the month is Mike Sullivan, the town administrator. When he was hired, he was only an executive secretary, so he's kind of moved up in the ranks, I guess, along that.
When they talked about changing the title, they asked me what I thought. And I said, I don't care what you call me, more is what you pay me.
Well, that's a good way to start.
Yeah.
So Mike's going to give us a review of what's going on in town and all kinds of different departments and everything you should be aware of that's happening in Medfield right now. Okay, so shoot.
Shoot, okay, well, it's, the weather's going to get better someday. So
All right.
just don't hold your breath.
And the taxes are going to go lower.
The taxes, well, it happens once, so you never know. I'm not like a Boston or Washington politician. I don't make promises I can't keep. But speaking of that, we are going to have a couple of elections in the fall. Our state senator, Jim Timothy, resigned to become treasurer of Norfolk County. So
That really surprised me.
yeah, well, it didn't. You know, he's got young children. He's got a lot of towns he has to go to events, and it's a lot of nights out. And when you have young children, you probably want to go to their sporting events or plays or whatever. So I can see it. But as a result, they're going to have a primary election in September and the final election in November to fill his
And he is a
seat
Democrat, am I
vacancy.
correct?
He's a Democrat. I understand there's one candidate who's taken out papers already from Medfield.
Who?
His last name is Shortsleeve. I think, is it Brian Shortsleeve?
Oh, yeah, that's familiar, yeah.
But he's running, I understand, as independent.
Okay.
Or taking out papers as an independent. So, and I haven't heard of anyone else running yet. Of course, the district goes down to, I think, Attleboro, North Attleboro. So I'm sure there'll be candidates from down that way
There's
too.
still plenty of time, too.
Yes, yeah. We also have another election coming up much sooner than that on June 5th. There's the election on the override question. The town meeting voted to appropriate and authorize $1 million bond issue for affordable housing, and that was subject to a Proposition 2.5 debt exclusion override. So that will be voted on at a special election called by the selectmen on June 5th.
At the center?
At the center, and the polls will be open normal hours from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Okay.
So, and that will be the only item on the ballot. So it's whether you want to approve a bond issue for $1 million of that money. One of the other articles at town meeting was to create a Medfield Affordable Housing Trust, and that money would be turned over to them to expend as they see fit to assist in the effort to get to our 10% affordable housing goal. The selectmen have to appoint the members of that committee, and they will be doing that shortly. So they've
If it passes.
asked people to volunteer to serve on it, and then they have to come up with appointees. So that's coming up, and that's right around graduation time. Graduation is what, the 4th? And then I guess the all-night graduation party is the 4th and 5th.
Third, yeah.
So, and then the election the 5th, so it's going to be a busy weekend. But I understand it's the 25th anniversary of the all-night graduation party this year. So they want to have a little ceremony at the beginning when they have the open house for the residents of the town to tour the all-night graduation decorations.
Yeah.
They're going to have a little ceremony to mark the event.
Because I know they started that after my youngest son was already out of high school.
Oh, he was when they
Yeah.
had it, yeah. So they've done quite a job over the years. They really outdo themselves, it seems to be, every year. So So what else? We're moving into the summer season. The transfer station stickers are up for renewal, so you need to get those renewed. It's a 2-year sticker. The price this year for the next 2 years will be $75 for the first car and $25 for the second car. And that the stickers expire. Current stickers expire June 30th, so you'll need to get them by July 1st. Although they usually give a couple of weeks grace period because people don't get around to getting them as quickly as they should, including myself. I have to admit I haven't got mine yet, and I work at the town hall, so
And you
I'm
forgot?
not going to criticize. But you know, now you have to go down to the town garage to get them. So
Okay.
you can't, get them at the town hall anymore. So
You can do that any day?
I should have gone down because when I go to the dump, I could go right by there. So
Yeah. Any day you can get the stickers, 7 days a week?
I believe
Wonder.
so. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
They're. I think you can get them. I think they're going to have a couple of Saturdays when you get them, so that people going to the dump can swing by the town garage and get their stickers. So. And the swap area opened May 3rd,
Yeah.
so it's in full gear. I'm sure you've been down there a few times, but they seem to be as busy as ever. They have a couple of tents down there now, and it's much better organized than it has been. And last year they really started to make an effort to better organize it so people can find stuff more readily.
Yep.
So,
They've done a good job.
yes, yeah. And they are volunteers. It's remarkable how much time they put in. It's a real service to the residents of the town.
It really is, and to the taxpayers.
Yes.
Because
yep,
the stuff that people take is stuff we don't have to get rid of.
exactly. Yep. Yep. So, the paving season is about to start, although we're waiting until after July. Well, until after school gets out, but. And the new Public Works Director, Mo Goulet, is coming in to meet with the selectmen on the 6th to talk to them about his ideas on how we should handle paving. He's putting in a new pavement management program to help in the process to decide which streets, which sidewalks should be done first, in what order. And,
He's going to come in and talk here too, so it's good.
yeah, that'll be very helpful. He's I'm sure, be very informative.
Yeah, I've been
So,
impressed by him so far, and it's a big
yes.
job.
I think the town's been very lucky with the department heads we've hired recently. Mo is doing a terrific job. Jerry McCarty, who's the new facilities and energy manager, is doing a great job. He's really got his work cut out for him. It seems like, I kid him, I say ever since you got here, it seems like everything is breaking down. So, but he's goes right at it, and very hard worker. Both of them are. So, and that's over the last few years. If you look at the library director, she's done a terrific job over in the library. Superintendent of schools and the school director of finance and operations, they're doing good jobs. So we just have to keep it up. We are looking for a new veterans agent. We do have a waste position open as head of the wastewater treatment plant. If you know of anybody that has licenses to run a treatment plant, it's a very good job, and we've had a very rough time getting it.
Who's retiring?
No one. Bob McDonald was head of the plant, and he left to go to, I think it's the town of Montague, I think it is, which is much closer to his home. He lives out that way. And he was doing an excellent job. He was a big loss. So, but it's getting to be a problem. I've been reading in the news lately that with the economy seemingly in high gear again, a lot of companies are having trouble finding employees with the qualifications. They just can't hire them. And particularly in the water and sewer business, a lot of the people that have been in it for years are reaching retirement age and retiring. And the younger people don't seem to have the interest in going into those fields, even though they're well-paying jobs. And you can do quite well even without a college degree in many cases. So it's, we have to, as a state, I think, find some way to encourage people to go into those fields. I was kidding Mo Goulet, and I said, everybody seems to be interested in the environment. Nobody seems to be interested in water and sewer, right. So maybe if you can change the title to call it something to do with the environment, you'll attract a lot more candidates.
Yeah.
So,
no, sewer isn't exactly an enticing word.
Well, but it's different than it was these days. You know, people have a traditional view of a sewer treatment plant, but you go into it today and it's very technical. The technology is so different. I mean, last year we put in the solar panels, and I was looking yesterday, and we're already up to 322 megawatts since it went in. Now the past couple of weeks haven't helped very much with the weather, but even in cloudy weather you generate a little. But that will save about 40% of the electricity costs of the plant. Plus we get what they call SREC credits, solar renewable energy credits. So that's proven to be very cost effective. We're actually making money on it the first year. We're also renewing our ultraviolet disinfection system. That's part of the treatment plant. Yep. That'll be going in this month or next month. It's the new month of June starts tomorrow. But next month they'll be replacing the ultraviolet lights, and so it's not just what people traditionally think of a treatment plant. And the water system similarly, and we now have 2 water towers. Incidentally, we are working with Verizon now. They were the only bidder to locate on the new hospital water tower. So they're anxious to get their antennas, or whatever they call them. They have panels for the cable, excuse me, not for cable, for cellular phones. So we've been working back and forth. We had an article at town meeting because we needed town meeting approval for the selectmen to lease the property, so that was passed, and so now we're ready to go. So if you see anyone climbing up on the water tower in the next few months, they're up there for a reason. It has to do with putting these panels on. So
I still remember the swastikas some years ago that were painted on that one up at near the state hospital.
Oh, I know. You know,
that made me so upset when I saw that.
Yeah, there's always some weirdos that are doing that, and you have no idea. They may be from Medfield, but
I hope not.
I suspect. Closed state mental hospitals for some reason attract a strange crowd. People try to break into them and film themselves, and I would like to think maybe it's one of those people that came from a distance that did that rather than someone local.
I hope they went back to wherever they came from.
Yes, yes.
I do. I don't want them here.
And there's going to be a car show. I think it's June. Is it sometime in June?
Yeah, it is. I should have the date.
Yeah, and that's the same one that was up there
last year. It was a great one
year.
before.
Yeah.
It was really crowded.
Now it's gotten a little complicated this year because the crews are up there with the movie, although they haven't started filming yet, and they won't start filming for a while. They're still cleaning the buildings and building sets and preparing the grounds for the filming.
Okay.
So.
How long will that take? Do they have any idea?
For the filming?
Yeah,
I think they're probably, I'd say the filming will be about 2.5 months, I believe. Okay. So I think it's going to start in July and end sometime in September. Okay. So, And hopefully they will be left in peace to do their work, so they won't be bothered. But they need, they will have their own security guards up there to keep people away. And during the filming, the grounds will be closed, so the people won't be able to walk their dogs. So if you are a dog walker and you like to walk your dogs up there, plan for the months of
Find
July,
someplace
August, and September. Find some other place to walk them for a while. And there are plenty of them in town. You know. Go down behind the Wheelock School, or you go up to Noon Hill, or I am sure the Rocky Woods has a program.
One,
yeah, so there's plenty of places. So let me see what else is going on. We are still working on trying to come up with a design for a treatment plant for wells 3, 4, and 5, and they are part of the study. They're looking at whether there are any other feasible sites in town to locate a new well, as opposed to rehabilitating the well behind the Wheelock. And if it turns out to be a lot cheaper than rehabilitating the wells behind the Wheelock, they may decide to go with that option. But they have to do a lot of tests and drilling and whatnot, so that's be a while before they know whether that's feasible or not. And they're looking at 4 sites in town as alternate sites. The most promising seems to be the hospital well field, but it remains to be seen.
Yep.
The town meeting is over, went very well. It was remarkable and ended in one night. It was incredible that it went that fast.
Yeah, I thought the moderator did a very good job.
I think he did, yes. He's really, he got the town meeting on a roll and never quit.
But I told him, because I interviewed him here, and I told him, I thought the thing that I noticed the most was the grouping of articles. Remember, we started it years ago for different reasons, but this time he had all the planning board articles together. It happened to be at the end of the meeting. But all the members of the planning board were up there in front of the cameras at one point. So it wasn't like one get up, one sit down, somebody else reach. Everybody was there as a group. I thought it sent such a message on.
And they introduced themselves, and I thought it was good for people to know who they are.
Absolutely.
You know, a lot of times when they're up one at a time, you concentrate more on the article, but when they're doing a series of articles like that and they all introduce themselves at once.
I wish other committees would do that, even small committees. I think it'd be great.
Yes.
To see who's there, and if there are any questions, you've all got a chance to answer them.
Yeah.
But I told Scott McDermott, I really thought that was a wonderful way to present it.
He's now in the process of trying to decide on appointments for the warrant committee. I think we're having, at one time they thought there were going to be 5 people go off, but I think it's down to 2 now. So he's had a few people that are interested. If anyone else is interested in serving on the warrant committee, I'm sure he'd be glad to hear from you.
I've told you before, it was the most fun of any committee I've been on.
Yes.
We didn't agree. I was chairman the first 3 years of Proposition 2.5. We didn't agree on one single thing. We didn't. It was 6 to 3, 3 to 6, 4 to 5, 5 to 4, 7 to 2, 8 to 1. And nobody was nasty. It was the best way of the disagreement I've ever had on any committee in my life.
They should send you down to Washington to
I know.
see if you could teach them some lessons.
Can you imagine the senators doing that?
Oh, gosh.
But it was just such a great way to get the message across that you can disagree and really remain friendly. We had parties afterward.
And leave the meeting laughing.
We did. Still friends, regardless of how we voted. We were still friends and still are. It was very, very important, I think.
It must have been that monkey bread that.
That was part of it.
It was Paul.
Paul Murphy's.
Paul Murphy. His wife used to bring.
We had to meet more often than usual, so we decided everybody was working. We decided to try a Saturday morning meeting, and Paul Murphy lived on Stagecoach Road, and his wife knew how to make monkey bread, which I had never heard of. It was so good that from then on, any extra meeting we scheduled, we did on a Saturday, so that Annette would make monkey bread for us.
She didn't know she was getting a new job when he got appointed.
And now I make monkey bread, all because of Annette Murphy. But it was just that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Everybody chipped in on everything. It was a very, very healthy committee, and I hope it stays that way.
A couple of other things that we expect to see going on this summer. The Highway Department is planning on putting a sidewalk on Metacomet between Pleasant
It
Street and
certainly
South
needs it.
Street.
Absolutely.
Yeah. They didn't have time to get around to it last year because of the extensive paving that was done on chip sealing that. But they have it scheduled for this year. Jerry McCarthy, the facilities manager, has bids out to replace the roof of the gazebo because that's pretty threadbare now. That gazebo must be 25, 30 years old by now.
Wouldn't be surprised.
We did do work to the bottom of it a couple of years ago. We had a lot of carpentry repairs made, and that came out very well. But the roof, it's got, I think, white cedar shingles, and they have to be replaced. And then he's also trying to get repairs made to the town hall roof, where there's a lot of missing shingles. So basically, the roof is still in pretty decent shape. Probably get another 5 to 10 more years out of it. But we've had some flyaway shingles that need to be replaced, and so we have appropriated, I think, $40,000 to try to repair that. It's a tough building to work on because if you go in the back from the parking lot in the rear, you're up pretty high. So it has to be done with a crane or staging, or probably they'll be able to do the repairs with the crane, but when you go to replace the full roof, you probably have to do a lot of staging on that. So, and that building, we moved in to that building in August of 19 years ago in August. So the building is, as of August, will be starting its 20th year. So it's still in pretty good shape for a building that's that old. The carpets are still in good shape. Probably we're going to need to do some painting of the windows and trim within the next few years. We sanded the doors down a couple of years ago, and he did an excellent job on that, Phil. So we're trying to keep up with it. We just had the chiller checked out. You know, that's one of the reasons we need a facilities manager with all these new buildings. There's a lot of things that we used to do by the seat of our pants when they were relatively simple. But nowadays you have complicated HVAC systems and process controls and lighting, dimmable and programmable lighting and everything else. It's just boggles your mind. We did get the solar power on the town public safety building. That's going too, so that's
a great idea.
Yeah. Of course, we haven't had a lot of sunny weather to tell how well that will work.
It's coming, it's coming.
That's what the weatherman says too. I think when it comes to global warming, New England got left out of the picture.
Maybe.
What do they call it? They changed it now. They call it climate change.
Yep.
So I guess we're in the climate change portion rather than the global warming portion. So it's there were a couple of other projects that Mo Goulet, the public works director, would like to do a lot of chip sealing. And that's what he's coming in to talk to the selectmen about, to try to preserve the subdivision streets in town so that they don't need to be rebuilt.
Good.
If you can maintain a street, it's a lot cheaper than having to rebuild it. So we did get a grant for $95,500 to repair the Phillip Street Bridge. And people keep saying, well, when are they going to fix that bridge? I thought we got a grant to do it. Well, we got a grant, but the grant, if you look at the conditions the state has, they have to do a 25% review, 100% review. They have to approve the design.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You have to go out to bid. And
a little bit of red tape there.
it's it's a long process, and I guess what do they say? If you want the money, you gotta do it their way. So
Absolutely.
Can
Can you explain to the people what chip seal is?
Well, chip seal is sort of a mixture of stone and it used to be oil, but now it has to be water-based emulsion that you put down over the road. And I'm sure people are familiar with it when they drive along a lot of the roads that have been chip sealed, and they have to ride over the gravel that splashes up if they go too fast. The one thing, when a road is in the chip seal process, you don't want to drive too fast on it, or
Absolutely.
you'll have asphalt on the edges of your car. But that's, it gives you a good surface. They do crack filling first to fill in the cracks, because if water gets into those cracks and gets underneath, that's when you start to get heaving. One of the big problems that I'm sure many people have noticed, particularly if you've gotten a pizza or Royal Pizza, when you step off the curbing, probably from all the Tresca trucks going over it, there's a real bump in the road.
No question, yeah.
So we think long-term the state ought to be responsible for paving that road. They paid to pave it in Millis, they paid to pave it in Westwood, and we don't see why we should be left out of that. However, it does take a long time under the new state regulations, since they have a Department of Transportation. You have to get on a 5-year plan, and the project moves along, and sometimes you can jump ahead a little bit if somebody else doesn't appropriate the money for their share of the project, but more than likely you have to wait the 5 years. So if we let 109 go for 5 years, there's a concern that it might have to be rebuilt instead of
Yeah, that's really expensive.
resurfaced, and that could really slow things down. And as anyone who observes 109 knows, you don't want to slow the traffic down to 109 or interrupt it for the least possible. I know the last couple of weeks, Millis has been paving Dover Road, and that caused, the first couple of days, that caused quite a bit of disruption until people found alternate routes.
Yep.
Even those alternate routes, I understand, were kind of bogged down for a while. But I don't know whether they'll get to that this summer or whether that will be another year, but that's one of the projects to consider. And the other is North Street, and North Street has some issues with it. The original program we thought was going to be done under has been changed, and the priorities of the state have changed. Now they want to give money to projects that connect to mass transit,
Of course, we don't have any transit.
or that have bicycle paths. It's tough because people like the relatively narrow streets of Medfield. They like the small town flavored ads, and they don't want to see big highways put through the town. And sometimes that'll put you at odds with the state and push you back in the funding. I think lately they've been coming around a little bit, realizing that you don't need to put all that asphalt down, and if it doesn't do any good to speed up traffic when they get to a traffic light half-mile down the road and have to sit there waiting anyway, they just have to wait longer.
I don't think there's any answer to that mess of traffic on 109. I can't think of one, except make everybody sell their car.
Yeah, I don't know what will happen in the long run. Of course, they're talking about cars that drive themselves, so I don't know what that will imply. I don't think I'll be around to see the full implementation of that stuff.
I'd like to see that, but still, you're still talking cars, and it's.
Yeah. But and they're talking about electric vehicles. I don't know whether that'll make any difference.
But you're still talking vehicles.
Yeah,
that's a problem.
Yeah, but I think part of it is people are going to be doing more work out of their homes. With all this computer connectivity and everything, that if, you know, some companies, although I've read some companies like IBM, I think we're reversing that, making people come back in and work out of the office for whatever reason. But some companies would let people work at home a day or two a week. So.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, there's the old, what do they call it, the mill solution, where you build the mill and you build housing for the mill workers around it.
Yep.
I wouldn't be surprised to see that. I mean, they're talking about it in some of these areas in downtown, down by the waterfront in Boston, where the company, they're going to build housing for their employees in the same area as the office to save commuting time. So I think it's not necessarily all a transportation solution. That may be other
That might be
things that
a
come
little
into
bit.
effect. Yeah. So, or we'll end up with the Jetsons, you know, with their little air packs and fly to work. So.
We'll get the bus back, get a train back, and then people will complain about that too.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, they say we live in New England, we got to have something to complain about.
Besides
it
the
isn't
weather.
the weather. Yeah. The concert series is starting on the 15th of June, at the gazebo.
Yep.
And the week before, on June 7th, the high school band is going to be playing at the Straw Hat Park.
Oh, really?
The Thursday before, so I think it's June 7th.
Okay, yeah.
They're going to be playing for about an hour and a half. I think it's or maybe 3/4 of an hour. I think it's like 6:30 to 7:15.
We have a bench in honor of my husband there.
Yes,
Could sit in
that's
the bench?
right. Yeah, that park really came out very nicely. It really
She
is
did a very good job.
attractive. Yeah, yeah, and it changes, you know, with the season. So, and we are. This is one of the things that we were talking about the other day about getting the fountain turned on. The fountain hasn't been turned on yet, and of course, it hasn't really been fountain weather yet either. So, but that. With the prospect of good weather on the way, we're going to try to get that fountain going because the kids seem to love it.
Yeah, they do like it.
So,
And we didn't talk yet about your little trip down south a few weeks ago.
Oh, to my 25th reunion?
To your reunion. I thought it was your first reunion.
Well, no, it isn't even the first I've gone to it. I hate to say it was my 50th reunion, and as I said to you before, I went and I said, who are all these old people? And then I looked in a mirror and realized who they were. So, but it was a lot of fun. It was good seeing people you hadn't seen in 30 or 40 years.
And then in a year or two, you'll have your reunion for the Wharton School grads, right?
That's next year.
Next year?
Yeah.
Is he going to go to that too?
I don't know. We'll
see.
see.
See Donald Trump there?
I doubt if Mr. Trump will go. He's not particularly well liked at Penn or Wharton. So, although you never know with Mr. Trump, you never know what he'll be up to. So, and 3 of his 4 children went to school there. So
I know they did.
Penn,
Anybody else in your class have the kind of job that you have?
Well, there were several people that the program I was in at Wharton trained people to go into city management. So. There were several. There was one that was in Decatur, Georgia. There was one that was in New Mexico, I think. And so there were one became a judge in Kentucky. So, so there were a lot of different paths that people took. But yeah, the program has sort of, unfortunately, I think, changed its orientation now. It's more towards state and federal service, and I think that's too bad. I think we spend too much time trying to solve the world's problem instead of trying to solve the problems back in our own backyards.
Yeah, the local problems. So yeah.
And, you know, I watch these TV shows and news shows and all they want to talk about Pakistan and Syria and North Korea. And you never hear them talk about Flint, Michigan or you know, Tallahassee, Florida, or any of these areas where they're having infrastructure. You never hear them talk about bridges, how we're going to pay to repair the bridges or the roads, how we're going to deal with mass transit in the cities. It's just the whole education funding problem is a huge issue that nobody seems to talk about. And I think part of the reason is at the state and federal level, they have become masters at avoiding talking about how you pay the bills. they never want to discuss how you pay for anything. All they want to do is talk about what they can give you, what new programs, what new tax breaks, what new,
We'll do for you.
I don't know. And I'd like to, and I don't know why reporters don't pin these down. I saw a show a couple of weeks ago, last week I think it was, Jim Browdy, Boston, whatever they call it. And he was trying to bring one of the declared candidates for governor down as to how he was going to pay for it. He said, you know, you have programs to improve education, to repair roads and bridges, to improve mass transit, to provide free education. How are you going to pay for it? Well, and his answer was, we're working on that. And Browdy tried to pin him down 5 or 6 times, and all he would say was, we're working on that. We were coming up with a 15-point plan. He said, well, could you give me some of the points? Said, we're working on that. And it's become a masterful art of avoiding how you're going to talk about paying for it.
I think a lot of them do it.
And I saw something recently where the United States debt is increasing by $3 billion a day. Billion a day. Could you imagine what's going to happen
No, I can't.
when those bills come due? And why aren't we talking about it? It should be number one. Do you remember when they had the clock showing the national debt? It was
I remember
ticking
that.
and went up. I
Oh
don't know
my
whatever
God.
happened to that. They must have the federal government must have condemned it, made them take it down. So,
Yeah.
but I
it's
think
scary.
people need to understand that people have no, and people don't want to talk about it. They got people convinced that they can go on this way forever, that the bills are never going to come due. And you know, I feel sorry for kids being born today when these bills come due. How are they ever going to begin to pay for it?
I have 2 great-grandchildren, and I
Yeah,
wonder.
Yeah, I don't have any children, so I don't have to worry about that end. But I do feel bad for the kids today that are going to be faced with these incredible problems because we don't have the guts to talk about how we're going to pay for things. And we wouldn't elect politicians who told us we were going to have to pay. And that's the sad part about it. This last election, did either candidate or any of the candidates talk about how they were going to pay for it? All they talked about was what they were going to give you, what they were going to, how they were going to give this, give that. It's disgusting.
But we
And
can do
having
what
to
we...
balance the budget every year, I say, what is wrong with these people? Don't they care about paying the bills? Have we lost sight of the fact that you can't afford everything? You have to set limits.
That's the advantage of a small town, because everybody sees you all the time. My husband used to laugh because I couldn't go anywhere without somebody saying, hey, why did you vote for that? How are we going to use that money? Who's going to pay for this? And people were, it's face to face. But we can't do that with the federal government, even the state government. We
And
can't
they
do
like it that way.
And it's too bad.
And I think that's why they spend so much time overseas, because they don't have to
It's an escape.
be confronted by people who are going to say, how are you going to pay for this?
Yeah.
What are you going to do about this problem and that problem?
But we do what we can for Medfield. It's a start.
And we have a balanced budget. So, and of course, we're required to have a balanced budget. Maybe that's what they need at the state and federal level. They may, although with Congress having to call a constitutional convention, they're never going to want to do it because they're the ones that are the root of the problem. So they're not going to do anything that's going to affect their ability to give things away.
Yeah.
So let the next generation worry about it. So.
But I think the town leaders are doing a very good job. I really do.
Yeah, and I think that taxpayers are doing a very good job because they understand if you want something, you have to pay for it. And they have been willing, for the most part, to raise their taxes to pay for it. Some cases they don't, but they won't. But at least they have an option, and at least they know if you want it, you got to buy it. There's no free lunch. So.
Oh, there isn't. Wish there were.
Well, now that we've solved the world's problems, maybe we got to get back to Medfield. So.
Anything you want to end up with today?
Well, just as usual, congratulate the graduates and wish them well as they move on out into the real world. They've got a tough road to hoe, but I was very impressed by the way, not only at town meeting, but at the Memorial Day ceremonies, with the quality of the band,
Oh my God,
the
amazing.
singers, you know, they really are so good.
I was
you
so
know,
proud.
Yes, yeah. I really got to give kudos to the music program in the schools. They do an excellent job.
It's really great.
And we also had the state champion girls basketball team in for the selectmen's meeting last week. That was fun. And it was nice. It was the first time we had the girls in. Usually it's the boys. Soccer and lacrosse normally. But,
ice hockey event.
yeah, and of course the year we had the Super Bowl. But so now the girls are starting to come into their own. It was fun to see them. They were very well behaved, well mannered. They thanked the selectmen, and it was a nice experience.
Girls' sports have gone so far.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Even since my younger daughter's day, you know, she was a very good athlete,
Yeah.
but she wanted to play ice hockey because her brothers played ice hockey, but she couldn't because there wasn't any way to do it.
Yes,
And
yeah.
she's very jealous now. She wished she was still in school and she could try it again.
And Medfield did have a good girls hockey program
Yeah,
for
I
a
was-
few years
yeah,
there.
yeah.
I think it's
My older daughter played in that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think the one thing that they haven't really been able to capture is the commercial market. You know, there doesn't seem to be the interest in women's sports that you do in men's sports so far. And I think maybe it's because it's a time factor. They're going to have to, people getting used to it and playing there.
Yeah.
They have to have stars, I guess, you know, like they have in men's sports. You
But I
have
think
to
they're
have
going in the right
celebrities.
direction. I really think they're going in the right
Oh, I
direction
think
now.
you
Just
gotta-
not as
you gotta-
fast as I would like.
You got to start small.
Yeah, most of my kids are boys, but still, I really want those girls to get their way,
Yeah, yeah.
have everything the boys have.
I noticed last weekend they had the lacrosse playoffs at the Gillette Stadium, and the girls, the BC lacrosse team was in the finals. So unfortunately, they didn't win, but they were up against Maryland, which
Yeah,
is
Maryland's-
rough.
That's
You
a
know,
big. That's a big one.
they've always been the powerhouse in
Maryland and
lacrosse,
Long
so-
Island.
Yeah, but they did
They were the two.
remarkably well to get that far in it. So,
And I hope they had fun with it.
yeah,
I really do.
Yeah.
I thought sports were wonderful.
I think sports are wonderful, music's wonderful. I think all these extra, you know, drama. That's the
Debating.
other thing. Do you notice the gazebo players are no longer going to be playing the gazebo?
Yep.
I think they have to decide whether they want to change their name or not. They're going to have all their performances this summer at Rocky Woods.
Oh, okay.
So last year they had them at the
I didn't,
Meeting House Pond.
I didn't know they were going to Rocky Woods.
Yeah, I just read it in the paper the other day.
So
that,
I'm legally blind. I can't read the paper, so unless somebody
okay,
tells
yeah.
me like you, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, yeah. So
To ask my kids.
they do. I think in Walpole they're doing it in the same place. There's a park over there. I forget the name of it.
That's a
but
great idea, though.
Yeah,
Because Rocky Woods was one of the favorite places in the world for my kids.
yeah.
Growing up.
I think the settings up there, and you know the noise factor was a big thing on Main Street. It was hard with all the traffic coming
Yeah, it
by.
is.
So that's one thing about the band concerts. They can drown out the noise. Oh, and that's the other thing too. The Zulo Gallery deck will be open whenever there's a band
Yep.
concert. They'll be open for food and beverages up there, and it's a great spot. If
It is a
anyone
good spot.
hasn't been up there, it's a remarkable view of the downtown.
Yeah.
You can look at the downtown without seeing 109.
Yeah.
That's
Bill Pope's
amazing.
done a good job, a really good
He
job.
really has, yeah, yeah. We're so lucky with the volunteers we have in town.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at sports program, the music program, the swap area at the Dump Zulo Gallery.
But Bill Pope grew up here, and to me, that's something very meaningful. Somebody that stayed
Yes.
and is
And-
still giving all that.
And he stuck with it for over 20 years.
I think it's maybe
I-
even longer, but it's been a long time.
I talked to him a couple of weeks ago, and he told me that he thinks they're going to be able to move forward soon with their renovations, you know, putting in the handicap elevator in the kitchen and doing the entranceway on the outside.
Yeah,
which
that's a big help.
Would be a big, yeah. So things are moving. We're not dead field anymore, I guess.
I hope we never are.
Well, it's funny, as I said the last time, that a few years ago everybody was complaining about vacant stores in the town and the downtown was dying. And we didn't have any parking problems then. And now the downtown is booming and we have parking problems and traffic problems. So
You can't win.
no, can't
we're
have
trying.
it both ways. So. But I think we've just about covered everything. I have started working on the fiscal 19 tax rate.
Okay, you can
Even
give us
though
that
we
news
haven't-
next time.
Even though we still haven't finished fiscal 17, and we're just
Almost.
almost on one more month, and then we start on fiscal 18. But the cycle never ends. So we're trying to do a 20-year capital budget, and we're trying to do the master plan so we can look out a little bit further ahead. One of the problems, I think, local government, and it's because of the way we're funded by the state,
Yeah,
you have a one-year focus, and it's hard because you really need to look down the road and see what's coming up. So, and I think we've started to do that, and hopefully that will help us out.
okay. Well, thank you for the roundup. Look
Yeah.
forward to having you back in another month and see if you can
I
give us a
know.
tax rate.
See,
And if wishes are horses, the tax rate will go down. I doubt it, but
yes.
I always
Well,
hope.
Sometimes when the property values go way up, the
I
tax
know.
rate might drop. That doesn't
That's
mean your
true.
tax bill
I know.
goes down. So.
But it looks
It's-
good when you say the
What-
tax
what-
rate goes down.
What was that line about death and taxes are inevitable?
Yes, they are. Okay, well, thank you very much, Mike, for coming again. And
Yeah.
we'll see you in a month and see how things are going.
It's always fun as usual.
And for you at home,
forward
thank
to
you
it.
so much for watching Medfield TV and the happenings in Medfield, and we hope you'll be tuning in again. Thank you.
You're watching Medfield TV, community show.